Assault rifles. That sounds really scary, doesn't it? That is currently a buzzword the media uses and far left politicians try to use in the US for the purpose of scaring people. And the context in which they use it is not the actual military meaning of the word, nor is it the law enforcement meaning of the word. It's being used to include a very wide variety of weapons that would not be classified as assault rifles or assault weapons by any military force on Earth. By using a scary sounding word and by using it to attack scary looking black rifles. Now, this is not by any definition of the word an assault rifle other than the media or the Obama administration. This is not an assault rifle. This is called an AR-15. It is essentially the civilian legal version of the assault rifle known as an M4 carbine. It looks a lot like it. It is actually almost virtually identical. I mean, it has a, well, this one's got a forward grip on it. I mean, it's got a detachable magazine. It's got a telescoping stock, but it does not meet the primary criteria of being an assault rifle. If you check back here, on these selector switches, I have safe, I have fire. I don't have a fun switch. No fun switch equals no assault rifle. In order for a weapon to qualify to be an assault rifle from a military perspective, it has to be a lightweight rifle that's fairly compact, which this is. Even when you extend the stock all the way back, this is a pretty compact rifle. It's very easy to carry, lightweight, can be used in close quarters or out in the field, so it's a diverse weapon. Lightweight, fires an intermediate cartridge. This one fires 5.56 NATO. Intermediate, not a high power round. Important consideration, and it needs to be capable of burst or full automatic fire. This doesn't meet the final criteria to be an assault weapon as laid out by any military or police force on Earth. Now, most of the assault rifles inside the United States that are not owned by the military are owned by police departments and usually SWAT teams. That is the overwhelming vast majority. Probably another 40% of them are in the hands of individual wealthy collectors, and regular working class people own maybe 1 to 2% of them. Now, that being said, assault rifles are insanely regulated inside the United States. They're already highly regulated. As I covered in my other video yesterday, if I wanted to put a true M4 carbine receiver on here to turn this into an assault rifle, it cost about $15,000 for the part. So just the lower half of this rifle here, you eject some of this out. Just the lower half. Right here, this piece, $15,000. It has a minimum mandatory 6-month wait while the ATF conducts a background check, and then they charge you a tax stamp on top of that. If you give that away to someone, you sell it, or it is stolen and you do not report it immediately, it is a 10-year prison sentence in the federal penitentiary after you've gone through that process to have it. So you can't give it away to someone else. You can't sell it. You can't even re-register it to another person. It is registered to you, nobody else. You have to go through the ATF in order to sell it. So they're relatively rare. They're very expensive. They are guns for wealthy people. They're guns for SWAT teams. They're guns for the military. The average Joe doesn't own them. And the truth is, a true assault rifle has never, in most of our lifetimes, I think there were some years ago, it's been decades. There has not been a legally owned or a legally imported assault rifle used in a homicide in the United States in over 30 years. Not one. Their death rate is 0. What they try to do is take anything that's black and scary. Just imagine if the media tried to do that with anything else. Let's see, there would be other examples of things they've tried to outlaw or make illegal to be out on the streets that are because they're black and scary. You know, if we did that in other situations, that would be called racism. Black rifles matter. Are these actually used that commonly in crimes? The reality is no, they're not really used that often in crimes. We have quite a few public cases of them being used in self-defense. In some cases, of them being used in self-defense and not having to be fired because the weapons are so scary and black that oftentimes the perpetrators are scared the hell off without a shot being fired. That has actually happened in quite a few instances, including some of the riots and other things we had, that shopkeepers and things came out and were guarding their shops during riots at various times with AR-15s, and the crowd left them the hell alone. They didn't have to fire a single shot. Their property was protected purely by the scary reputation of these scary black rifles. there was no need to actually use them. There have been more cases of that than them actually having been needed. However, they are an amazing home defense weapon. This one is actually my second line of defense in my home. This particular rifle is what I have in case my 9mm is not enough. This is not going to be my obvious go-to, but these are amazing for home defense. Now, you will note, I did show this green tip ammo. I would never use these for home defense because this is light armor piercing NATO rounds. I use a thinner jacket, more frangible round for home defense so that I don't go through 5 or 6 walls, hopefully, or over penetrate and kill my neighbors. These with more frangible rounds do not penetrate deeply when they hit stuff. They just tend to rupture and burst apart because they're moving very, very fast. They're very lightweight bullets. However, the thing to remember with a weapon like this, people talk about them being so powerful and dangerous. This is a semi-automatic rifle firing an intermediate cartridge. In fact, in many states, this weapon is not legal to hunt big game with because the bullet isn't powerful enough to humanely kill them. So put that into perspective. This fires an intermediate cartridge, and I'll show you the difference. This is what I hunt big game with. In many states, this is considered to be the minimum round to hunt big game. This is a .308 Winchester, is also what my AR-10 fires. This is a .556 NATO, dramatically smaller, dramatically less powerful bullet. So, as you can see, massive difference here. This is not a high-powered round. I mean, it does well on humans, but when you start hitting big game that weigh over 200 pounds, have thick skin, are very muscular, it is oftentimes simply lacks enough penetration to put them down. You end up shooting a 200 or 300 pound deer with it. Anything other than a perfect shot placement, it doesn't penetrate deep enough, the deer goes and runs 3 miles before it falls. It's simply inadequate for most big game hunting other than certain smaller games. Intermediate game, it's fine, coyotes, some smaller deer, but it's inappropriate for that. This is really more suited for, again, very small game, home defense, things like that. It's just not suitable for big game hunting. It's just not powerful enough. And so these arguments about, oh, these are powerful, they're not really that powerful of weapons. There are guns that are easily 3 to 4 times more powerful that you can buy at any hunting store in the country because you wouldn't be shooting an elk or a bear with this. But it goes back to the point that in spite of that, in spite of the fact that, again, this is a semi-auto weapon, it only fires 1 bullet every time you pull the trigger. So no, these are not as powerful as they're made out to be. These are really sporting rifles, target rifles, small and medium game hunting rifles, and excellent home defense weapons. The reason people want to ban the 5 million of these currently legally owned inside the United States is, again, due to propaganda and because they want to remove all your guns in their fear that these will be used to overthrow a tyrannical regime one day because we have 5 million of them and people keep buying more. That is actually the concern. Because from a crime perspective, non-existent. Since these are not legally classified as an assault rifle, we don't actually have a separate statistic for assault rifles for murder because it's statistically irrelevant. We don't have any cases. It's not something that happens every decade. So the rate is 0. So we just track rifles in general. And most people would be surprised that less than 1% of all gun deaths in the United States are with rifles. It's something in the range of 300 people per year are killed with rifles, including home defense, including suicide, including police and SWAT team shootings. They're very, very low. Generally in the 300 range per year. And when you consider that we have 5 million of these in legal hands, these are simply not being used in that many crimes. They've only been used in a small number of crimes or actual criminal shootings, but because they're very heavily highlighted by the media when they happen. But the truth is, again, less than 1% of all gun crime is committed with an AR-15 rifle or a rifle in general, even though we own 5 million of these inside the country. 5 million. This weapon is not a criminal problem. This is, again, a sporting rifle and a decent home defense rifle, nothing more. So when people throw out this term assault rifle, it is being used as a buzzword to make them sound scary and menacing. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. And remember, black rifles matter.